Okay, this is my second attempt at doing the podcast today. I have already recorded, I think it was probably about an hour of information relating to how I see the universe and how the scientists see it, and I don't know. I feel like it was an incoherent rambling, and I wasn't in the right frame, in the moment, to allow the right information to come out that I know needs to come out in my podcasts. I know last week that I felt like there was a 3-part incoming transmission, if you will, that was to be embarked last week, this week, and next week. And I believe that that is still the case, but I need to present today's one in a slightly different aspect with a whole new attitude. And the reason that I've had to re-record this podcast again is because I don't think the other one was authentic enough. I don't think that one was saying the things that I really wanted to say. And this is the whole thing that's been coming up for me. And I don't want to make today's podcast all about me and my healing, yada, 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 but I am going to come in and mention that over the last few days, I have been working through some heavy beliefs, emotions, stories, whatever you want to call them. I've been working through eliminating them not eliminating them, allowing them and seeing why they're there, looking at them, etc., etc. One of the things that I've sort of prided myself in recently was all this healing work I've done and how I have moved through so many things over the last few years in such a short time that, I nearly felt like I deserve some sort of spirit award, like, hey, look at this chick, overachiever. But it's been very clear to me that I feel my message is not 100% authentic, even though in the moment I'm speaking where I think I need to be speaking. I'm speaking from my knowledge in that moment. I'm speaking from my own experiences. I don't just come out and make stuff up. I don't just say things because I think that's what people want to hear. I don't say things to try to cause a stir or try to say something that's the opposite of someone else. In every moment when I speak on here, I am trying to speak from my own authenticity in whatever that looks like in that moment. However, part of that and part of my unraveling in the last few days, and I'll probably go through this in another podcast once I'm fully through it, because it's huge and many layers. We heal in layers. One of the things that I'm truly hearing through all of it, and if anyone has followed me and anyone has listened to my podcast or anyone knows me in any way, shape or form, you will know that I've changed my mind a lot. I have moved through different things a lot. I have flipped and flopped, and I use this every time I speak. I flip and flop, and I do. And I've always believed that that was because I have this allowance of everybody's correct, everybody has their own journey, everybody's unique, everybody sees things in their own way, from their own viewpoint, and I get that, and I still believe that to a point. However, that has also allowed me to not fully step into any of my beliefs and to not fully step out and really talk about the things that I believe in the moment. Yes, I talk about some of the things, some of the more acceptable things, the more easier things. I've even questioned the way that I am currently expressing myself through my creativity is a multiple of things, because Anna flips flops. Whether it's through design or through social media platforms or creating content, all of that to me is something that I honestly believe anyone can do. I also believe that it doesn't matter which one of those outlets. I know if I choose to follow down one of those paths, that I could learn something new, that I could get enough information to understand how something works and create something from it and be able to create something for someone else. And that's not me thinking, oh my goodness, I'm so amazing. I just think I have those capabilities of being able to create things if I need to. Am I going to become an expert in any field? Probably not. Will I fully dive into something and sit in there and learn every single aspect of it and become an expert? No. There's millions of people who can do any of the things that I'm talking about. And I've always tried to make that viewpoint that the way that I do it is different because I do it. And that is correct. What anyone does, it doesn't matter what they do, it is different to someone else because they are doing it. I believe that. However, I also feel that I have been using those outlets as a camouflage for the things that I really want to talk about, for the part of me and the true part of who I am. Because ultimately, I talk about stepping into our creativity and working through our emotions and our stories and our beliefs and our shadows. And whilst that is, two of the most important things that you need to look at and understand and find what works for you in those areas, the element that has pushed all of them, that has allowed all of them, is the whole spirituality part. And I get sick of using that word because I feel like I'm just overusing it. I don't know what other word to use. I don't know if there's a word enough that is going to encompass all the things that it represents for me. And by using that word spirituality, like if you had to ask me what that was 10 years ago, I would have aligned that with religion. I would have just went, oh, that just means you believe in God. Or if someone used the term New Age, oh, that's New Age thinking. That's where you are thinking outside of religion and trying to create a new belief or something that you think is now real for you because of this new awareness or this new awakening. So when I'm using the word spirituality, what I am really talking about is my connection to something else. Unsupported by science, unsupported by religion, just pure connection and belief in the things that I see, that I feel, that I know, that probably make no sense to anyone else but me. People call that their own connection to source, their connection to God. However people want to look at it, that is what spirituality to me is. That is the essence of who I am. I have no concrete way to describe or to give you the essence of what it is, how it should be, how it looks, but I can tell you the things that I have felt, I have seen, I have heard, I have experienced, I have created, I have uncreated. I can share those things, and I have hidden behind those for so long. I've dabbled in sort of coming out and talking about things. I have talked around the things, but I've never actually sat in it and went, this is me, this is where I'm at, and this is what it's all about. Yet that is the absolute driving force behind every single thing that I've ever spoken about, that I've ever tried to create, that I have ever learned, and what I've moved through. So that is what I need to speak about. That is what I feel I'm being really called into speaking about. And I have had a lot of resistance towards it. And I honestly feel that sometimes some of the things that I see and feel and know are so big and great that is the whole point to me to go, hang on a minute, hang on. What's happening here? So that I go, oh my goodness, I need to talk about this. I need to share this. But instead, I will hide behind that and step into my creativity in being able to create things and make things and help other people instead of speaking from the truth of who I am. Whilst that will not stop me from continuing to be able to do things for other people and to continue learning new things, I need to step more into this portion of who I am. So the original podcast that I created, I really wanted to layer on from last week of the way that we connect energetically, vibrationally through the analogy of colors. I still believe that. That is the essence of who we are. And the whole reason this 3-part series is coming through is because next week I really want to explain to you artificial intelligence and what I think it looks like and how I think we're going to move. And I normally don't ever talk about the things that I see or the futures that I see or the collective thoughts that I see. And I've always used the excuse, oh, I don't want to taint anyone else's beliefs, because I have shimmied away from a lot of people listening to their beliefs and their knowings under the pretense of, no, I don't believe in that. That doesn't resonate with me. No, I don't feel that. Whereas there is more of an underlying belief of, I'm not good enough because I can't speak like them. I can't see things like them. I can't speak like them. I can't voice what I'm seeing like them. And I was covering all that. So look out. Anna is speaking crazy. See the words that I use. Part of this human still believes that the things that I'm talking about are crazy and that everybody thinks you're going to do this, you're going to think that, you're going to feel that. And that is my own beliefs coming through my voice, and they're not real. They are just things that we will work through and allow to release. So the podcast I created before was more about the science, and I wanted to talk about electrons and protons and neutrons and atoms and particles and quarks and strings, so that I could give you the scientific backing to allow me to talk more about the spiritual, because I've done that myself. I have tried to find a way to solidify my own beliefs by looking at science, by looking at religion, by looking at big name people talking about the things, so that I can give my brain the proof to say, it's okay to think this. Yes, you're not crazy. There's someone else. Oh, you could use that science part. Now it's going to lead into that spirituality. It's all just a smokescreen. But I will tell you this, from listening to scientists, and I'm not going to go down that whole rabbit hole that I thought I needed to explain myself to you, but if you look at it from the scientist perspective of how we were created from the Big Bang, and you know, all these particles and atoms and photons and things were created, you can believe whatever you want, because honestly, no one really knows. No one really knows how we were created. No one knows. The whole thing with science is, do you know that everything that they know now about astrology, cosmology, science, our biology, our history, all of it, it makes up 5%. Like, do you know 5% of the universe is the parts that we know of. The rest of it is dark energy and dark matter. And that is something that even now to this day, scientists know it exists because of the push-pull effect and things coming in and out, the universe expanding but trying to constrict at the same time. They don't know how it works either, but they know it exists. Because I wanted to use that as a basis that even though scientists, and this is where we can really believe people because they're scientists and that's more believable because of our current thought patterns, if they believe that it exists but they can't prove it, and this is the same with atoms and quarks and strings, they can't prove it but they believe it. Therefore, it's true because they believe in it. So then with that analogy, why can I not believe in the things that I see, the things that I feel, the things that I believe in? Because that was going to be my segue into, okay, so this really weird random thing happened because I've said this before. The way I see things in my mind is a vibrational frequency. And that's why I talk about it so much. But it is literally these threads, and I don't think I will have the right words to be able to explain this properly, but there are literally threads that are constantly moving, joining, unjoining, moving around, wobbling around, connecting, but they're all colored. Because I talk about this luminescent field, because the way that I saw this light to dark to luminescence, and that's a whole journey in itself, and I have spoken about that a bit, but there's a lot more to it that I haven't spoken about. I've spoken about generally because I didn't want to sound too weird, but being in this luminescent field is something that it's funny that the actual colors and the aspect of it came through when we did I don't know if I talked about this on a podcast, but I finally scattered my husband's ashes maybe a month or so ago, and when we released it into the water, there was this luminescence that sat in the water, and I can't describe it, and we didn't have our cameras obviously in the water, so I can't even prove it, but there was this element to it and the way it sat, and there was this whole thing. Anyway, that's to me, that was the solidification of the luminescent field and the way that I was seeing it in my mind. Because when I talk about seeing in my mind, it's when I close my eyes, it's like a screen across my forehead. And this is how I see most things. This is how I see the energetics of the light grid. This is how I see the dark grid. This is how I allow the luminescent field to be seen as the beautiful sparkly bits of the light and dark. So it's like pulling all the good bits out, but then seeing it all in these amazing strands that are constantly moving and just wafting around. I have a lack of using any better words to be able to describe it because it's super difficult to describe what you see in your mind. But if you look at any of those science videos anywhere, or if you learn anything about sacred geometry and you start looking at how patterns are duplicated through the way that they see the universe and the energy strands that are connected, and the way that we look at cells under a microscope, or the way that a plant is formed, they're all similar. They have all these similarities to it because we're all energy and everything is made up of atoms and particles and these things that no one really understands, which means when we are having these visions or these ideas or these beliefs that are coming in, and what we feel and what we see, that there is 100% possibility that it's all true. There is an absolute possibility that everything that anyone feels, sees is true because of there's such an unknown to everything. And I know that a lot of people attach themselves to certain stories, to certain history timelines, to existences of what other people have shown us or taught us. And I flip and flop through some of those beliefs. And now that I'm in more of an allowance state, I really like to take them on board and just see how they feel. And it doesn't sound normal to say things like that. Oh yeah, I'll just bump that up into my field. But there is an element to our energetic vibration where, like I said last week, where we match to certain things, but it's going to be based on where we're at, based on where our beliefs are. But behind all that, for me, I see things way bigger. So where I have spoken about coming out of the light grid and moving into the dark and then into this luminescence, which is where I feel I hold all three of these elements. And this is for me, this is my vision, this is my movement towards whatever the hell I'm moving towards. Being able to see that there's this very big element of zooming out from the mainstream existence of what people talk about. So when a lot of people are talking about the same things and the same similar storylines or beliefs and stuff, I get it and I listen to them all and I take them all on board and I try to understand the lesson I need to learn or the message it's trying to bring. And it's interesting because I honestly believe I believe that everything that comes into our field, there's a reason for it. It's either for us to look at, to absorb, to reject, to look at something else, to move us to another step, whatever it is, everything's working perfectly. And in every moment we get to choose which way we're going to go, which way we're going to feel, what we're going to do based on where we're at in that moment and what tools we're armed with. And what I mean about what tools, it's what experiences. If you are someone who has no idea of what I'm talking about and you're faced with something, very high level, I don't know, weird spiritual type thing that happens, your response is going to be different to someone else who's worked through that for a while because they understand it more, because they've been through it more. So you can only make the decision based on where you're at and where your beliefs are. But I do try to hold my beliefs open so that I can take things on board. But I can tell you, I have changed my mind many times. There are so many things that, depending on where I was at, where I would immediately reject what they were saying, say, okay, that may be true for you, but it's not for me right now. And then, only a short period later, swing back and go, oh, okay, see where you're going. So my whole point is, through this rambling, is even though I wanted to bring in science to show you how the spirituality is an allowable force, it is something that cannot be denied, even if you're a mainstream person who knows absolutely nothing. When someone starts talking about dragons and Arcturians and the holographic matrix and nefarious collectives and all these type of things, if you're someone who knows nothing about that, you still need to accept the fact that it is a possibility when, if you are a true believer in science or facts or something solid, that you can understand that even scientists don't know anything. Even though they try and they do everything they can to really understand the essence of who we are, where we came from, what we're made of, what's out there, what's not out there, what works with what, they still don't know anything either, which means we're all in the same playing field. We're all playing the same game. We get to tap into our own awareness. We get to tap into our own energy. We get to find our own frequency. And what happens is, our frequency is going to match us to what we need next. And I've spoken about these circly spirals, and this is like part of the universal strands that I see is how they connect and unconnect. Because we may be on this ride right now talking about this, and then I'll jump off and I'll be talking about something else. Then I'll jump off, I'll be talking about something else. Then I'll move over to here. Oh, we're back over here. And it's this constant journey. I don't believe that there is one path and we're here and we're meant to be there. Originally, I used to think that being spiritual was, we need to get to this meditative state where we are hovering above the ground with our legs crossed, with the light shining above our head, just chanting Om. And that was it. That was pure enlightenment. That's where we were headed. But now I see it so different. The journey towards our enlightenment, this journey towards this new earth, this awakening, this 5D, whatever words you want to label with it, is just a journey of self-discovery. It's just a journey of self-acceptance. It's allowing our thoughts, our beliefs, our connections, and whatever is coming in to be... See, the birds are agreeing with me. Look, see, it's just outside my window. The birds are always talking to me. They agree. That's all it is. We're here just to experience and to allow and to keep following whatever it is feels good for us. And yes, it is in our creativity. It is in our joy. It is in our love. It is in our abundance. And if we can just detach from everything else, a lot easier said than done, trust me, and just keep stepping into that yes, that this is what I want, this is what I'm doing. And I don't have the answers to stop those feelings that we don't enjoy or those experiences that aren't good. I don't have the skills to tell you how to not allow that to happen, but we have to allow it to happen whether we like it or not. And the only thing we can do is move through it, and we move through it with whatever we have in that moment, whatever resources we have around us, and we will get through it. We will get to the other side. We'll have a new layer release. We'll have a new layer that comes on board, and we step more and more and more into a deeper understanding, a deeper awareness, and a pure acceptance of our love, our joy, and our creativity in this existence as this vibrational frequency. And I'm hoping that my point has really come across, because I just want to reiterate the fact of you can't hide from your own truth. Once you're on this path, you are on this path. You can detour, you can camouflage it, you can dress it up, but it's just going to keep taking you there. Whether you like it or not, if you believe you have a higher purpose, whatever it is, whatever you're meant to do, whatever it is you want to step into, it is going to happen, and it is going to happen in the way that maybe you don't want, maybe you don't expect, maybe you can't even see. But it's always going to happen exactly as it needs to. And stay tuned for next week, because it's going to be a juicy conversation. When I talk about AI, this is why I needed to do that this week, okay? Get it now, because I'm literally going to bring in the energy of AI and speak to it from the perspective of the energetic frequency of artificial intelligence. So please listen next week, and if you're not following me anywhere, do so, because I think there's some more authenticity going to start emitting out of my mouth, whether I physically do not want to do it or not. So stay tuned and just keep following your joy.